Hi guys, feeling a little bit spunky today, so I'm going to be streaming a little bit more. Um, I have thoughts on the election fraud issue, right? And with the election fraud issue, you know, it's very interesting that there's still this insistence by Republicans that Donald Trump won the election and that Biden stole the election through fraud, right? And I know this probably isn't as trendy a topic at this point because the election is very long over and the issue has been decided both by the people and other officials. So, I don't want to spend too much time ranting about it. But if you are under the impression that there was election fraud, that the election was stolen by Democrats in some way, that there was some sort of systematic attempt to rig the election in some way, um, I I first, there are basic questions that I could ask to kind of interrogate that belief. What evidence do you have? What legitimate evidence do you have that there was election fraud? What I know that absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, but I just am curious what empirical basis there is for the legal claim. It just seems spurious to me inherently, and it seems more that it's just a claim without basis, that it's not an actual warrant of any kind. And that's fine. People have every right to not distinguish between claims and facts, and they can accept the claim if they want to, and that's fine. It's their right. It's a part of the freedom of thought to believe what you want. Freedom to believe is a part of the freedom of thought. So, I don't take issue with that. But I do take issue with one piece of, I'm not going to try to, that question is basic. So there really isn't anything more to expand upon there. A more interesting question is this. If there was election fraud, right, wouldn't the margins of victory be taller? Wouldn't they be greater? Wouldn't they be wider, right? So if there was election fraud, wouldn't the margins of victory be greater? I mean, the thing is, I've titled this video, Pennsylvania Goes Both Ways, is kind of a cheeky play on words with regard to going both ways, and Pennsylvania being both Republican and Democrat very much, and swinging, kind of swing state. I'm just curious, if there was election fraud, right? If there was some systematic attempt to manipulate the result, wouldn't the margins of victory be greater? Wouldn't we see more substantial margins of victory? Wouldn't there be more? Because it seems in this election, it was extremely tight. It was extremely close. There weren't really a lot of the states some states even that were solid states became swing states. I mean, it was a very close election, right? So if there was election fraud, if there was systematic attempt to manipulate the result of the election, wouldn't the margins of victory be greater? Because they weren't very great. And I think just based on that theoretical question, one could build a very strong foundation, argumentative foundation against, and a persuasive foundation against the notion that there was legitimate election fraud. And, there was even some contradictory evidence that it was actually the Republicans that were voting with like dead people's names and identities. So, voting through identity theft to inflate the votes on the other side, so I just very interested in how people that legitimately believe in election fraud would respond to that argument. And I'm sure that, I can imagine that there are some rebuttals that would, render the argument not so powerful. But I think it is a good question, at the very least, to wonder why the margins of victory were so close if we did actually have systematic, concentrated, right, intentional fraud. And it seems that the margins of victory indicate no fraud rather than fraud. Thank you for watching.